We're ready? 1, 2, 3. Have you ever seen a book cover or a magazine and been drawn to it? Follow your instincts. It just may lead to a trip of a lifetime. It was in June 1999 when I was walking through Costco with my cart, and I walked down the aisle where the books are, and a book cover caught my eye. And I took a look at it, and picked it up and opened it up. It said Pacific Crest Trail. And I put it in my cart and went on. When I got home, I opened it up and started reading it, and I couldn't put it down. What magnificent pictures by Bart Smith as he had walked from Mexico to Canada on the Pacific Crest Trail. And I felt a call to do that very thing. And I was 6 months away from retiring, and so I could start to plan to do this trip. So I started talking to some guy friends that I'd hiked with, and they went, well, that's a big trip, Ray. Who are you going to do it with? And I said, well, I'm going to do it alone. I'm going to go solo. And they go, no, you can't do that. You have to, it's not safe. And I go, well, I just want to do it that way. And so I shared it with my wife, and she didn't really like me being gone for 3 months. And she said, if you could come home once every 3 weeks and, spend a week with me, and, I'll give you some chores to do. And, I think I could manage that. So we struck a deal, and I started to plan it out to walk the Pacific Crest Trail. So I bought books and little booklets to go with me that showed all the places where you could do resupply and distances between and what to look out for and where there was water and where there wasn't. I started to make a list of the equipment I needed, and so I had plenty of time to do planning. And logistics was one of the key pieces of this that actually was inspiring to me. I had been a manager of logistics for 10 years with Procter & Gamble, and I loved that, planning a trip and planning all the logistics of the moving parts of it. And this one required to walk with a pack on my back and carry my food with me and my water with me and all the equipment that would be needed to go in the snow and in the desert and everywhere else, and have the pack as light as possible because, it's going to hurt your back if it's over 25% of your body weight. And so I loved the planning of the logistics and everything, but there were some things that you just could not plan. And that's kind of the stories I want to share with you, is what I learned from some of those things that happened to me that I did not predict, did not anticipate, and turned out to be some of the highlights of the trip. So the first one happened after I left Campo, which is the Mexican border, and my friend John actually delivered me to the trailhead from San Diego. Months before, he had asked me, how are you going to get to the trailhead? And I said, I don't know. And he said, don't think another thing about it. I'll get you there. So he had a friend drive the two of us, and he walked with me the first day and a half. Then after he leaves, about a day or two later, I am walking along this very narrow trail. And so I've got trees and going up on one side and going steep down on the other side, and there's trees on this side, and I'm walking along, and all of a sudden I just feel like stop. There was just something about me felt caution, stop. And I backed up, and I looked ahead of me, and I saw a rattlesnake under a rock. Good thing that I got this feeling that I needed to stop. I took off my pack and I sat down. And I looked eye to eye with this rattlesnake. You see, I knew I could not walk by on this path without him striking out and getting me in the leg. And I don't want that. I knew there was no way I could get by here with him there. And so I decided to befriend him. So I sit down and start talking to this rattlesnake, and just calmly and easily. And I talked to him for about 10 minutes. And then I felt like, okay, now you can go by. And so I just slowly got up and put my backpack on and buckled it up and came down again and talked to him a little bit more, and then just gently walked by. I built a relationship with him where he was no longer afraid of me and would strike out at me out of his fear. He had become comfortable enough with me to just sit and watch me go by. And I thought, isn't that interesting that we are so easy to go to fear? And when we do go to fear, it separates us from the other person that we think is an enemy, but he's not really an enemy, and I'm not his enemy, and so we can coexist together. Which sort of relates to another story. I actually had 2 bear encounters on this trail. So it was months later. I had moved from the high desert of Southern California outside of San Diego, moving up to the San Bernardino Mountains, San Bernardino Mountains, and I'd gone through there. I'd gotten up into the high Sierras. So it was quite a while later. I actually had to take a month off because I was too early and got into the snow and almost froze to death, hypothermia. And so I had to take a break and took a month off. So now we're a little bit later in the high Sierras, and I'm hiking with another guy for quite a while that day that I had met on the trail. I met some other people. We all had trail names. Mine was Summit Seeker, and people have a name for themselves that preserves their identity, because some people don't really want other people to know who they are. And so it came to be evening, and this guy decided he wanted to climb this mountain faster than I did, and he took off and climbed. And I climb up this mountain and make camp in just in the woods. As a through hiker is a term on the Pacific Crest Trail that means I have a permit from the national government to walk this trail, and that permit allows me to sleep, to camp wherever I want. I do not have to be in a campground because I'm walking this entire trail. So they give me special permission to stealth camp, to camp anywhere I want. So I come off the trail and find a nice place, pitch my tent, and cook my dinner, boil my water in my little stove, and have my freeze-dried food, and I eat that, go to bed in my tent with my sleeping bag and an air mattress and a Z-Rest, which is a foam pad, because I like comfort, and the ground isn't that soft. So I'm prepared for that. I have a nice sleeping bag. I sleep through the night soundly, and I am awakened in the morning by a sound outside the tent. And so I come outside my pup tent that's only about this high, and I come up out of the tent, and outside the tent I have stuck in the ground my ice axe, which is used when you get into glacier country. But right now, it was just kind of handy when I found every night when I went to bed, when I come out, it kind of helps me to come out of the tent and to get up. So I come up and I take the ice axe and I reflex, turn around, and there I am now staring at the sound that I heard, which was 3 black bears, a larger one and 2 smaller ones, and they are on their haunches, pawing, trying to get at a garbage bag filled with my food that I had hung from a tree. Fortunately, it was high enough that they could not get to it, but they were trying. And so I stand there looking at them, and out of reflex, I just said, "Get out of here, you guys. That's my food. That's not yours. It belongs to me. Go, get out of here." And they took off, and they ran down the hill. And there they are, probably 50 yards away, turn around, and they're sitting watching me as I pick up camp and take my food down and put it in my pack and walk away. And I concluded that they were more afraid of me than I was of them. Why is it that it was just my response, my aggressive response to them was not met with aggression, but rather they retreated? And then, having had that experience, I had a similar one later when my brother went to join me for a period of Northern California after I got to Lake Tahoe. And as I said, my wife and I had this agreement. I would fly home. I would come home to her every 3 weeks. So I had been doing that. So along the way, I made all these trips home for about a week and then would come back with many challenges on times of how I was going to be able to do that. Hire a limo, have a plane fly me in and fly me out. There were many challenges, but at this point, I had reached Lake Tahoe, had gone home for a week, and came back where my brother lived in Grass Valley, and there was, he and I made an agreement. He was 60 years old at the time, 62 years old at the time. I was 59, and he wanted desperately to hike with me, but he had Parkinson's disease, the early stages, about 2 years into Parkinson's, and so he was not able to do it. And he said, "Ray, I would just love to be able to be with you while you do this, and I think I can go back roads, and we can meet at night, and I can carry some of your gear, and you can have a light pack and travel more distance, and then we can camp out together at night and have dinner together, and then you can take off the next day." And he just loved getting the maps out and finding where we were going to meet, and we would agree on meeting there. I had a GPS on me, which was helpful, a cell phone, which was helpful when there was cell coverage. This was in the year 2000, so it is not like it is today in terms of technology and cell coverage. So it was a different kind of small little phone that I had charge up from time to time, which was also a challenge. So I also had a bear encounter the first night with my brother with me, and so it was a similar thing. I mean, I woke up hearing my brother scream, Ray, we've got bears in the campground. And so I came up out of the tent, and I look and I see these white eyes off in the distance. And I just start yelling at the bears, get out of here. And I slowly start walking by my brother toward them, and I'm just yelling more and more as they disappeared. And I get over to the bear-proof box where we had stored all of our food. It is bear-proof, it is steel, and it has a special lock on it so that the bears don't know how to twist it over to work the combination of a twist and a lift in order to open the box. And so I get over to the box to see if we can, get our food out of there and leave this place. The bears are gone. I cannot see them at all. But all of a sudden I see food on the ground, and I see that the box is sort of bent. And I unlock it and open it up, and here on the ground are 3 freeze-dried bags of our dinners for 4, 3 of them on the ground, and some of the food spilled around. I can't imagine how they tried to eat this stuff, but obviously they had lifted up with great strength and their nails to be able to lift up this lid and bend it enough that one of them must have gone inside and grabbed this stuff and was pulling it out, and they had tried to eat freeze-dried food, and so they were gone and we were shortly gone. So, second story from the Pacific Crest Trail that was something that I did not plan in advance, but turned out to be kind of a lesson on many levels for life. My next story happened after I got to the Oregon border. I had traveled 1,700 miles at this point, and I was very much looking forward to flying home to a week with my wife from Medford, Oregon. I had been traveling for over a week, very sick. I thought I had Giardia, which comes from drinking polluted water. I filtered my water at every creek, at every stream, at every lake. I used the pump and filtered my water always. But I had the same symptoms that I had had many years before in Glacier National Park, hiking with 3 friends when I had Giardia, this in my gut was the bacteria that caused me to have diarrhea, excessive diarrhea, and be very sick. So I had that same symptom. I had diarrhea for over a week. I am eating, trying to feed my body. I'm burning between 5,000 and 10,000 calories a day, walking 20, 25, 30 miles a day, climbing mountains up and down. So I'm burning all this energy, and all the food I'm putting into my body is coming out of my body, and I am exhausted. I am the point of complete exhaustion just after passing from California into Oregon, and I'm getting ready to climb up, partway up Mount Ashland before descending down into Ashland, and getting to the trailhead where I've arranged for a cousin to meet me so that I can catch an airplane the next day to fly home to be with my wife for a week. I am down on my knees praying, God help me. I can't do this. I am completely exhausted. I feel like I cannot make another step, let alone climb 4,000 feet up this mountain. Please help me, God. And I stand up and grab my pack. I was more agile then. Grab my pack and put it on my back, buckle it up. I take a couple of deep breaths, and I hear a loud noise. And what was that? And I back up. And right behind me is a dirt road. I'm on a trail here, but there is a dirt road right there. I back into the dirt road and start yelling, help me, please help me. I'm yelling in the direction of the sound. And as I look and start walking down that dirt road toward the sound, I see movement. I see a person come out of the woods. And I walk towards this person. Then she stands behind the truck. I couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman at this point, but the person stood behind the truck bed as I'm saying, I need to get to the hospital. Please help me get to the Ashland Hospital. And I'm right at the truck, and she is now on the other side and looks at me and said, no, I will not take you to the Ashland Hospital. As my heart sinks, she said, I'm taking you to the Medford Hospital. That's where I work. Oh my goodness. Oh, we throw my pack in the back of the truck, and she drives me to her hospital in Medford and share our lives together on the way down. As she said, I came up here today and I sat in my truck and I just was buried in my troubles. And I was going to go for a hike, but decided I didn't have enough energy to do it. And I got out to just take a couple of deep breaths when you called to me. She said, I think you probably think I'm saving you. I think you are here to save me from my troubles as we went down the hill. And she delivered me to the hospital. And I was able to fly out the next day and spend a week with my wife. And it turned out I didn't have Giardia, but I did have food poisoning that was apparently from eating old cheese that had poisoned me. So that's the third lesson. The fourth and final one I want to share with you happened at the end of this journey that I also did not plan to happen. And it's probably the most significant thing that happened to me on this journey. At the end of the journey, I had just finished in Canada, having traveled the 2,650 miles, plus 288 miles of getting lost and off trail and getting out to fly home and all of that. I had 26 resupplies of my food shipped to post offices, general delivery, Raybrook, general delivery at the post office. So all of the logistics had come together. Now I finished the trip, and I stayed at the motel. And having had all of these experiences, I went to lie down to bed and to pray. and I just opened the drawer next to my bed, and in it was a red Gideon Bible. And I opened it up, and I started in Matthew, and I finished in John. I read for the first time in my life the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And when I finished, I said, I believe this is true. And I want to know more in this book. Tim, I'm going to make my close, but I forgot the exact thing. So okay. So I had said, I want to know more of this book. Which led to the pathway for life. So listen to that inner voice. You don't know, but it may lead you on an adventure of a lifetime. Okay? So you think you could